Aloha. It's another beautiful day in the sunflower garden, and I'm here to talk about when I purchased my first property for my business. So hopefully you can take something from it and maybe it'll be useful. So I was 19 years old when I decided to jump face first into my business endeavor, which happened to be 6 business endeavors. I was a little ambitious. There's nothing wrong with ambition. I encourage it, and I say run with the wind, do everything that your heart desires, because we only get one lifetime to try it out, at least one that we remember. So I was in college at the time, and I was graduating in 6 months, and I was looking for a place to live. And I thought, well, I need to find something maybe that I can fix up because I need to afford it. I only had about $10,000 saved that I had worked for during school, and I took out loans for my living expenses, but I got all of my education covered by financial aid, scholarships, grants, and the like. I highly recommend doing things like that, and if you ever need any information on how to do that, please contact me. So I'll give you my contact information later. So basically, I bought, I'm jumping ahead of myself. I was thinking about buying a property to live in after school because it was 2008, the economy was not fantastic, and it was January, so if you know anything about our recent history, you'll know that's when the market crash happened and it was a little bit messy. So I graduated in May of '08 and I needed a place to live. So I bid on this house that was really affordable. I was part of a silent auction and I lost it by $100, but I decided to keep looking because obviously I still needed somewhere to live and I had no job prospects with it being the time that it was, and even though I just had a degree, it just didn't do much for me. So I hope I'm talking loud enough. If you can't hear me, let me know. I'll redo the video. So basically, I am looking for a building, well, a house, and I end up finding a school building on howardhanna.com. And I thought, well, why is a school building so cheap? It was listed at like $13,600 or something like that. And so I called the real estate agent and I said, what's wrong with it? And she started going on and on and on about it needed a new roof, it needed new everything, just plumbing, wiring, electricals, it was a mess. Other than the foundation was sound and the plumb and masonry was good. So I was like, well, I'm gonna go check it out, see what it's like. And she was shocked that I even wanted to come see it, but I ended up looking at the building about 3 times before actually saying, I'll make an offer. It was my dream. It was one of my first dreams. And it went rough, as everything usually does in the beginning. And I didn't have a place to live because, as I mentioned, I had this money saved for a house and I spent it on a school. So I was engaged at the time, and my fiance and I moved in with a relative of his for a little while until we could figure out where to live. And I was renovating the school, working as much as I could, doing odd jobs until we finally got a job 6 months after graduating college. Took forever. Over 300 applications later, I got my first interview, but that's a whole nother story. And so we get this job at the greenhouse. I'm working on the school building. He's not really helping, but that ends up ending anyways, so that doesn't really matter. So I buy this school building. I offered them $8,000. They took it in 41 minutes. It was an interesting process, and I was so excited about it. I was elated that I got to purchase this new building and put my businesses in it. I had 6 business ideas. I was going to do a all-green vertical greenhouse with organic, hydroponic, vertical or vegetables and herbs, and I was going to have basically a vegetable ice cream truck that went around the neighborhood and delivered vegetables to different places and stopped at specific locations so that way people knew when they could get veggies and it was available to everyone in the neighborhood. This was in Denora, PA. I bought a school building called 5th Street School, which I don't even know if it's still there. So I started renovating the school, and I'm working on it, all these business ideas. The vertical greenhouse, an antique bookstore and library, which I already had a person to fill it with. Over 300,000 books. I was so excited. And I was going to attach a cafe to it that was all my homemade recipes. And then I was going to create a, a dark room. So one of my trades during college was I had a job as a photographer, and I was learning black and white film photography, and I was doing all of my own developing for film and prints and contact sheets, and I took over the whole operation after 6 months of being there. It was Photography Unlimited. I learned from Gene Paskoff, phenomenal teacher. He was 73 at the time. So I learned everything about black and white film photography, and it's a dying art form, so I wanted people to be able to have access to a studio where they could go and print their own photos, learn how to do these things, and keep the art form alive. So I was creating this where you could go and spend $10 an hour and do anything you needed to in a darkroom for black and white printing. And then the color chemicals get a little messier. So then there was a nonprofit that I was planning to put in there. And this nonprofit was a self-sustaining nonprofit to help fix the town. And the way it ran was, you know those small business opportunities that you can do from home? Like you can make jewelry boxes, or you could sew capes, or make little stuffed animals or hair bows. There are some of them that are actually real. They're not all scams, believe it or not. I tried every one of them. And so I found some of them that were real, and I created this idea of a nonprofit that utilized these things to make money so people could fix their houses. And if they could fix their houses, they could raise their property values and stop the degradation of the neighborhood, because it wasn't necessarily, it was becoming a depressed area, in my opinion, but I guess it's all subjective. I grew up in Mount Oliver, where I watched it go from something really, really beautiful to what it is today, and my heart is in trying to fix neighborhoods, so that was the idea behind the nonprofit. I wanted to help fix the neighborhood a little bit, and I wanted to spend my life there. It was a dream, and dreams are good, dreams are important. They're the stuff of life. They're all the things that you can work for, no matter how they work out. It's what you're supposed to do. If you feel you should do it, do it. Anyhow, that's off the subject. I'm here to talk about when you're buying the property, okay? So now you know my backstory to why I bought the property. And I bought it kind of whimsically. It was my first building. I was 19 years old, and these were big dreams. I had all these business plans and very little money, very little tender. I refused to take any credit cards out. So it was like, get another job, hire more people, do more work. And so at one point I was working 2 jobs a day, 7 days a week. It was 9 part-time jobs that I had, because there were no full-time jobs available in 2008. It just wasn't the way it was. And so that lasted for over a year and a half for me, if not longer. But I kept working all of these jobs to hire people to come empty out the school building that was full of rubble. And on the very first day that I got there, the next door neighbor pops her head over the fence and goes, "You can't work today." And I said, "Excuse me?" And she said, "You can't work today. I just talked to the councilman and you can't work today." I said, "I just bought this building and I'm not really sure why you're saying this, but the mayor and all of the people that I purchased the building from, which was the area, told me to start working. So I'm gonna work until somebody tells me not to, but they all have my contact information if anybody needs to reach me." And I'm Michelle. Nice to meet you. Have a beautiful day, right? So 2 hours later, a councilman shows up and asks me to move my dumpster. And this is how my journey begins at 5th Street School. And it's because my next door neighbor likes to park on my property that I just purchased. And she feels that she has the right to do so, and she's lived there for 70 years, so she considers it hers, even though she doesn't own it. I don't really know how that works, but I imagine it's a feeling of entitlement for some reason. So she makes a big stink about the dumpster and needing it to be moved, but it was the only door that we could put the dumpster outside of to empty the school building out. So it became this big fiasco, which turned into a, I don't know, 4-year battle, and not one that I chose to make. It just, I had no option. She was unhappy, and sometimes people were just unhappy. And I thought, well, I'm just going to keep doing what I do and moving forward and making everything beautiful. And I had all the support of all the people in the neighborhood except for this one woman who was my next door neighbor. And over the next 4 years, she caused such havoc that they condemned my building. And after 4 years and $42,000 being sunk into it, which is a lot to work for when you're 19 years old and just starting out, I ended up giving the building back to the neighborhood and just calling it quits. She broke into my, she didn't do it. She had her family break into my building after she took every legal recourse she could. She had someone break into my building and try to poison my water source for my workers. Had the city pour asphalt on my property behind the school. I mean, there was no end, and it just wasn't going to stop. So the lesson in all of this is know thy neighbor. Make sure when you purchase a building, you go around and meet all of the people that are around it. Because these people are going to be a big part of your business's success, your personal success, or your failure. And whether you like it or not, they're gonna live there. And so they matter. So whether it's your home or your business or anything that you're doing, make sure to meet your neighbors first. Don't just buy something on a whim and think this is a good idea. Or even after looking at it 3 times, I thought, this is a great idea. I'll just buy this property and move forward. And if I fail, it's only my money I'm losing, and there's nothing that could possibly go wrong, right? And so how she did it, she called the Department of Environmental Protection, the council people, the mayor, the police. She called everybody under the sun that would listen and said that I was doing things illegally. And every single day that I worked, I had to tour people through the property, spend my entire day just telling my workers what to do and not doing any work because there were just people showing up constantly. And it was a mess. And then, like I said, she tried every legal way she could, and then she couldn't do anything else. She tried to poison my water source. I found out, cleaned it out, was infuriated, obviously, but couldn't prove it was her. There was no security cameras, no electricity at the building. And then the final straw was her getting it condemned. She called the code enforcement office every day for 9 months until they slapped a condemned sign on the building. They never took me to court. They never did anything through any of the legal avenues. It was just condemned. And there was nothing I could do because it was the borough who wanted it to happen. And the borough was behind me. The mayor was personally behind me, but she turned the council people against me one by one because she had, what do they call it, seniority in the neighborhood. And evil people live forever, so you will not outlive them. Meet them. Know who they are before you buy a building. I can't stress it enough. Your neighbors are important. So that's all. I hope you have a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful day. Bye.